Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of OpenFrontIO. Today we're going to be going through 10 tips and tricks to dominate OpenFrontIO Impossible mode. So let's get straight into it. Tip number 1 is to pick a good spawn. In OpenFrontIO Impossible mode, there's often only 1 or 2 viable spawns on a map. So what I do is I oftentimes go and scout out a map before playing it and pick a spawn where I have access to the most territory so that I can scale and get ahead in the long term. And this tip relates to our second tip, which is play positionally. Even though in OpenFrontIO, it can be tempting to annex and try to get as much land as you can early, in Impossible mode, you should be prioritizing positional play. This is because bots have incredibly high caps compared to you for troops, and you need to be playing so that you have the max potential in the long run, not just the short-term advantage. Tip number 3 is to make early strategic alliances. Getting into early fights in Impossible mode is a recipe for disaster, and that is why you want to ally some of the nations near you in the early game, just so you don't have to fight, just so you can scale, and with playing positionally, this will allow you to get an advantage by getting a lot of the land without having to fight early. Paired with these alliances, your fourth tip is to bribe other nations. This is probably the best tip for Impossible mode right now. If you don't know, if you give a nation 2 1% donations, their status will go to friendly, and that dramatically decreases their potential of attacking you. So with a little bit of troops, you can ensure your security in the early game so you can scale, get a lot of land, and prepare for the later stages. The bribing strategy also relates to the fifth tip, which is facilitating proxy wars. So one thing that is lesser known among OpenFrontIO players is that if you tell a nation to attack and target someone else when they're on friendly status, they will start launching bombs, they will start attacking, and this can give you an opportunity to weaken your neighbors. Since OpenFrontIO nations have really increased populations and troop caps, if you facilitate 2 nations fighting each other, that can give you an opportunity to strike and get more land without having to fight one-on-one. To take advantage of these proxy wars though, you need to take into account tip number 6, which is to scale. One lesser known fact in OpenFrontIO is that other nations only build infrastructure up to a certain point. They build a port, 2 cities, and a missile silo, and the only other way they scale with infrastructure is by taking other nations. You, on the other hand, can trade, you can build lots of cities, and this can give you an advantage even though these other nations have really significant troop counts. So what you need to do is build a couple ports, build a lot of cities, and use that to prepare to take advantage of your opportunities when they arise. This said, this brings us to tip number 7, which is to build SAMs. So in OpenFrontIO Impossible mode, the main way that other nations are using their gold is to launch atom bombs. And if you have one SAM site, that will shoot down every atom bomb. Different from multiplayer, oftentimes I like to concentrate my cities in one area and build 2 SAMs just in case another nation decides to launch multiple atom bombs at the same time. And that pretty much makes all of my infrastructure safe so I can scale, get ahead, facilitate the proxy wars, and then take advantage of my opportunities. Tip number 8 is a bit different, but it's also important. Be wary of betrayal. In OpenFrontIO, if you betray another nation, it will cause a hit to the relationship with the nation you betrayed and all the other nations on the board. So when you betray someone, you're potentially making other enemies and decreasing your relationship status. You can clearly make up for this by giving small bribes, but you need to be cautious of how this can potentially lead to disaster. With this said, we come to tip number 9, which is wait for your opportunity. In OpenFrontIO Impossible mode, it's a pretty bad idea trying to fight a bot of the similar size one-on-one, which is why we facilitate these proxy wars. And what you can do with them is if you wait around for enough time for a bot to get on low troops after they send out a big attack, you can often capitalize on that and take all their territory, all their base in one go, which will give you a huge advantage for finishing off the game. And the final tip I have is in case your game doesn't go according to plan, which is save for Merv. In OpenFrontIO Impossible mode, other nations, they cannot Merv you. So if you get the map stabilized that one nation can't really get to 80%, you can hang out and trade with other nations, get up to Merv, and then just win the game with one Doomsday weapon, which is a really good strategy if not everything goes according to plan. So I hope these tips have been helpful. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you want to see more multiplayer tips or other tutorials in the future. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.